breakdown we've been waiting for. This is the one we've been waiting for. New Rockstars, Wandavision, Episode 5, Easter eggs, and all of them goodies that Eric Voss is working hard at. I wrote down a bunch of possible scenarios on my own time of like, how is Quicksilver back? What is the purpose of Evan Peters being here? Who brought Evan Peters here? Was it one? I got a whole bunch of my own little speculations that I haven't properly narrowed down just yet. Either way, it's New Rockstars, man. Eric Voss, king!
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of WandaVision Episode 5, which, spoilers ahead, confuses the crap out of anyone who still thinks about the Fox X-Men movies, and scares the crap out of everyone with Baby Vision. I hate it. After rewatching this episode, there are so many interesting visual details to break down.
Cute as hell.
That does help explain what exactly is going on with Evan Peters, Pietro, and Sparky, Agnes, Wanda's history with S.W.O.R.D. So let's go back through Episode 5, shot by shot, for everything you missed. And we actually got to start before the episode, because the first odd detail comes up in this previously on segment.
Where is Geraldine?
She's gone. She didn't belong here.
This is actually the third version of this exchange we've seen. The first came in Episode 3.
Oh, she left, honey. She had to rush home.
But then an altered point of view from Wanda in Episode 4.
Oh, she left, honey. She had to rush home.
Still
The
gets
words have
chills.
changed. Wanda's just being honest. She didn't belong here. Even now, in Episode 5, Wanda's hex continues to warp reality, even outside the parameters of the episode itself, as it streams on Disney+. The fourth wall is breaking down. So much so that character counts from different movie universes are leaking in.
I guess.
Throughout this episode, you may notice a red haze glowing off of the glares and light sources inside Westview. This looks like a post-production filter in which all the red end of the spectrum contained in all-white light was dialed up a bit. Just an interesting artistic choice to show how the Scarlet Witch's hex over Westview is becoming a bit unstable.
I gotta take a little preview of that again. Wow, it really is there. Holy moly, he's right.
What a subtle color correction choice.
Oh man, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I would never have caught that.
Witch's hex over Westview is becoming a bit unstable. Babies Billy and Tommy won't stop crying.
Why won't you do what I want?
Another element in Westview outside Wanda's control of her own children, and pretty terrifying that she's trying to use magic to silence them, something that she might do to, say, all mutants, or whatever else she wants to say.
No more influencers!
Charles Darwin's The Descent of Man, which is a title about human evolution, which does reflect the arrival of mutants to the MCU and the whole fear that comes with X-Men in the comics, right? Replacing lesser evolved humans. Agnes drops by.
Auntie Agnes is here, and I've got a couple of tricks up my sleeve.
Yeah, she refers to herself as Auntie, perhaps a callback to Auntie A's kitty litter in the supermarket in the Episode 2 intro, which was a clue then that might point to her being Agatha Harkness, who does have a black cat named Ebony in the comics. And a few tricks up your sleeve. Come on, do you want us to trust you or not? Vision's distrust throws her off in this interesting way.
Do you want me to take that again?
Yes, Agnes is breaking character, and she directs this to Wanda directly, as if Wanda is the director of this scene. Agnes is clearly not fully under Wanda's control, but she plays the part. She defers to Wanda as if she's a kind of partner in order to earn Wanda's trust, and it works.
Vision, let's let Agnes give it a try.
Could drive a truck through his eyes. And of course, Agnes mentions Ralph again.
One sec. So is he implying that we just haven't seen some type of specific interaction between Wanda and Agnes just yet? It's a reveal that they are actually working together on this. Obviously, Agnes is more than just another person underneath the influence of all of this. But is the implication Wanda was aware of Agnes this whole time and they've actually been working together?
Either that, or maybe she had some kind of prior meeting that has since kind of faded out of her mind with all the magic that's happened here.
That theory would still make sense even with the reaction Wanda was having to Agnes, just because Vision was still in the room and maybe didn't want to give away, you know?
That it almost could be, like a break character.
Ralph sprays it on me every night, but there's no taming this tiger.
Now, Agnes calls herself Tiger, and notice throughout this episode there's a
toy.
little tiger toy staying in that kitchen. Maybe Agnes's eyes and ears in this house. How she's able to keep tabs on everything. And then the babies go silent.
They're empty. Then where are the twins?
Uh-oh. For just a moment, this kind of evokes that terrifying scene from Robert Eggers' The Witch, where the sister is left babysitting the baby, playing peekaboo, until that baby just vanishes because it was snatched by the witch. Look, folks, if there's a witch parallel to Agnes in the show, I'm gonna call it out. Billy and Tommy just age up 5 years, a nod to the way TV shows will kind of abruptly age up child actors between seasons to give them new speaking roles, new identities. And then Agnes says this.
Kids.
You can't control them.
No matter how hard you try.
Later, Vision does observe that despite Westview being for the children, no other children are in Westview. So what's going on other than this all just being to get Wanda to create these two kids? Well, I think Wanda's hex originally could only control the minds of adults in Westview, because adults are more likely to have past pain and trauma that can connect with Wanda's pain and trauma. Meanwhile, Westview's children are innocent, pure, unburdened by life, and thus those children may have been immune to the hex, able to run free. Now this
interesting. So trauma manipulating other trauma. Okay, that's fascinating.
This episode is based on family ties with the family portrait imagery and the duet theme song. Growing Pains also has a duet theme song and the amazing progressing age photos.
Yes.
Of course, Full House, the sitcom that launched the careers of Elizabeth Olsen's sisters, Mary-Kate and Ashley. And then that show's opening featured a family picnic and the singing section
exactly out of Full House,
the family running. And this whole set is based on the Family Ties set. The kitchen has the same Kiss the Cook sign, just like in Family Ties.
Dang.
That sofa has a lone blue cushion, which could be nod to that maddening lone blue cushion in Growing Pains. And the progressing photos of Wanda are actually real photos of Elizabeth Olsen, but they were edited to place her in Sokovia. Notice the Sokovian flags behind her in the second
How
two.
subtle.
Being in what I assume is the ritziest alley in Sokovia. That's
right.
Shithole. Meanwhile, Baby Vision is a horror show that I never want to talk about again.
Why do you say that? I think it's adorable.
Billy and Tommy celebrate their birthday with all 5 number candles lit on it. Since their rapid aging skipped each of these birthdays, they're celebrating them all at once. Now, notice how in these holiday photos, Vision in costume as a turkey, Easter bunny, Santa, each photo shows him getting progressively unhappier. He clearly no longer wants to play along with Wanda at...
I mean, in all fairness, he's got a Santa beard here. You don't really know.
Be smiling.
You
He
don't
could be
really know.
So happy.
You don't really know.
You're reaching, man.
As Monica recalls being under mind control in Westview, there is this one little flash of Wanda sobbing. This looks like a new shot, but that background is Westview. Her clothes look like the ones she's wearing in that footage we've seen where she swoops into that sword facility to take Vision's remains. So I'm thinking this could be right after she brought Vision's corpse in pieces to Westview to try to resurrect him.
Okay.
Now, Monica's scans interestingly show a blank, but you can make out the outline of her neck and shoulders, but her body is coming out overexposed. So Monica does have a future as an Avenger. She's either going to be named Photon or Spectrum, similar powers as Captain Marvel. Her flesh here being composed of pure light could mean that she already has these powers. Maybe the moment Wanda ejected her from
that
Westview.
totally
Now, in
flew over my head.
It's got 9 stars, 8 on each side with 1 in the middle. I've said before that this could reflect the 9 realms of the cosmos that we saw in the Thor movies. That middle star could be...
Hold on a second. Oh, wait a minute.
God.
They asked to say, like, she wanted to do more blood work, and she's like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just because, oh, she's, cool agent who just wants to get down to business and solve the problem right away. And then there is that line about Captain Marvel where there seemed to be kind of a begrudging, hesitant thing that maybe Eric will go into later. But damn, that completely flew over my head. It seemed like such a, oh no, she just wants to move on.
The sword logo shows up on the table. It depicts 9 stars, 8 on each side with 1 in the middle. I've said before that this could reflect the 9 realms of the cosmos that we saw in the Thor movies. That middle star could be Earth, aka Midgard. Now the map also shows this little label near Cape Canaveral. I'm thinking that could be where Sword HQ is. Jimmy Woo briefs us on Wanda's history.
Born in Sokovia in 1989 to
Here we go.
Irina and
Here we
Oleg
go.
Maximoff, both killed during an air raid when Maximoff and her twin brother
Tell us what that
Pietro
news
were
station
10.
is.
In the comics, Wanda and Pietro were raised by Django and Maria Maximoff, but their real parentage is to be revealed as the children of Magneto. It remains to be seen if the MCU will embrace this Magneto connection.
Ian McKellen might be the one to come in.
Was described by Pietro and Wanda in Age of Ultron, remember?
We're 10 years old, having dinner, the 4 of us. And the first shell hits 2 floors below. It makes a hole in the floor.
and many of us believe that is what that creepy beeping Stark toaster was a reference to. The MCU in-universe news service, WHIH, returns here, and then Hayward cuts off Jimmy as he tries to defend Wanda's reputation.
I try not to speak ill of people.
Then allow me. Hayward's a dude.
Terrorist.
Making it sound like Hayward's a terrorist, which it totally is. He was using Vision parts to make sentient weapons, subverting Vision's will.
That's why they had.
Doing the same. And you can see
That's why they have Vision's
Wanda
body.
stealing Vision's corpse. Vision is broken up into pieces.
That's
and
no autopsy.
Right.
Experimenting on him. This is likely the robotics, nanotech, and AI projects that Hayward was referring to. Guy is a dirtbag. Further evidence when Monica asks,
When was this?
9 days ago, Maximoff stormed our facility, stole the Vision's body, and resurrected him.
yeah, 9 days. Interesting timeline. Wanda took Vision 2 weeks after Endgame, which is about a week before Monica returned to Sword HQ. Hayward didn't tell her about any of this, and he probably knew exactly what he was sending her to in Westview. Also, you probably heard
Yes,
Sokovia
exactly.
Accords,
That's what's
Lagos,
weird
and
about it.
Berlin get mentioned.
Okay, so really quick, is the implication that they're running experiments on Vision's body, which they weren't supposed to be doing? The details stood out a little bit weird to me that they had Vision's body to begin with. I really didn't read much into it if they were actually doing all these full-on experimentations with it.
That's definitely why I took out.
I mean,
of
yeah,
this.
when you look at this photo, it's very clear.
Yeah, and I mean that's such an easy way to motivate Hayward if he truly is a villain. Already being aware of the reality that's been created, but also the need for the asset that is Vision. We need him back to continue these experiments.
And it sounds like it was probably experiments that they shouldn't have been running, and that's why it took him so long to brief them on what actually occurred.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't go into detail there in the briefing with, Jimmy Woo and the rest of the Sword agents, all of them there. He doesn't say anything like, we were running experiments on Vision. They just said we had Vision's body.
And I mean, if he wasn't happy about the idea of being resurrected, I can't imagine he would be down with the idea of being turned into experiments either.
Billy wears red, Tommy wears green, which are the colors of Wiccan and Speed, respectively, in the comics. It's also the colors Wanda and Vision have been associated with in their wardrobes. Sparky the dog. Sparky is actually Vision's synthesoid dog in the Tom King Vision series. Very dark story here. So he was originally Zeke, the neighbor's dog, the dog who died when he accidentally dug up the Grim Reaper's corpse and then zapped himself on the scythe. You may remember the Grim Reaper's helmet was shown in the floorboards in the episode 2 animated intro. Perhaps in this episode, Sparky died when similarly digging up something in Agnes's yard.
What a
Though,
neat,
gotta say, Sparky's story
grim,
gets even
but
darker
neat
in the comics,
reference.
So I'll come back to this. You'll notice Vision's newspaper reads, "Local homemakers innovating recipes." Another pointless headline, but on the back, an ad for Westview Appliances. Jimmy Woo loves getting coffee. Monica conceives of a vehicle to re-enter Westview and setting her up probably
Break
to
down
drive
that
truck
whiteboard, come
we
on.
saw in the footage.
I know an aerospace engineer who'd be up for this challenge.
This aerospace engineer is not shown yet. It's just Monica texting them. A lot of people are saying this could be Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, based on Hayward's past line.
But I don't
about
think it
what
is.
Astronauts working for Sword. Sword very well could be how the MCU introduces a Fantastic Four. Though in this case, I think it would be a bit of an understated way to introduce one of the most highly anticipated Marvel heroes.
Come on, decent in emails.
Off-screen aerospace engineer. Cool.
Yeah, we could do it in text.
He's already in WandaVision. Really, I think this engineer is more likely to be the Skrull daughter of Talos, whom Monica befriended at the end of Captain Marvel. Probably one of the extraterrestrial allies that Monica referred to last episode. Maybe someone working with her.
Hey, that'd be a
Fury as
neat
part of Sword.
tie-in.
Also,
That'd be a really neat
the
tie-in.
Spanish subtitles of this. They use feminine articles for this engineer. So yeah, I think it's all pretty eyes Uno player. Notice how the ID board now
think he
includes
just
the
cracked the
mailman
case.
identifier. It crosses him off the list of Jimmy Woo's missing witness, since that witness wouldn't just be another New Jersey resident trapped in Westview that they would put on this board. So this tells me that this witness is still at large. They debate the events of Endgame.
She could have taken out Thanos on her own if he hadn't initiated a blitz.
How'd they get that footage of
Nobody else
that?
came close.
Well, I'd argue that Captain Marvel came close.
Awkward. Monica's reaction hints at some bad blood between her and Carol Danvers. It reminds me of that interesting reaction from Nick Fury, well, technically the Skrull Talos in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Captain Marvel.
Don't invoke her name.
Man, people are hating on Carol. Talos, Fury, Monica, they all appear to be on the same pro-Skrull side coming out of Captain Marvel. And that space station Fury was on at the end of Far From Home might be part of Sword. So, did Captain Marvel do them dirty? Did she betray them? Did she fail to save Maria Rambeau and they all hold it against her. Monica's so pissed off that she pulls a Peggy Carter in terms of terrible indoor firearm safety. Then this interesting scene at work, Vision awakens Norm. Now weirdly, we did see this written down as a note on Abalash's profile memo last episode, before Vision awakened him. And I know you could say time dilation inside Westview, but no, it could not have happened until after Monica was ejected from the 70s era in episode 3/4 to set up this 80s era with Vision and Norm in the computer scene. So what's the story here? Continuity error. I just think a lot of these scenes were shot around the same time and out of chronological order. And props like this memo were made without the expectation that psychopaths like us would be able to read it. Ultimately, I think this is an example of them re-editing some episodes, maybe so casual viewers would get more context earlier. But also note that Abby never says that.
I just gotta say, like, that cracks me up because like we brought that up in our review. But wait a minute, the note was there before, so Vision must have done that in the past. And is Wanda like erasing the times of Vision's memory when Vision had done this in the past? Have they maybe had this argument before? And then Eric just comes here, probably just comes here. I thought out of anyone to over dissect it, it would have been Eric Moss.
Wanda is doing this, just her. Now the her of this mystery doesn't have to be Wanda. It could be Agnes in his head. Billy trains Sparky.
Sit, Sparky, sit. Good dog.
Another sitcom reference here to the Ubu Productions bumper that would play after the credits of episodes.
We're all
of
waiting for the Quicksilver bumper.
Also, notice how Billy puts a treat to his temple as he trains the dog to speak. As the future Wiccan, he will share his mother's telepathic abilities. So maybe he's so good at training his dog training practice is telepathic and can mind control animals. Then after the attempted drone strike, Wanda's pissed. She breaches the perimeter and issues this stern warning.
Stay out of my home. You don't bother me. I won't bother you.
Now, you may have noticed a bit of Wanda's Sokovian accent making its way back in there. She's reconnecting with the more villainous roots that she had in Age of Ultron, and she redirects the sword guns at Hayward. Though notice, none of them are aimed at Monica, showing Wanda might still see Monica as a potential ally. It's really just Hayward and his exploitation of Vision's remains that pissed off Wanda so much. Also, turning a bunch of guns like that, yeah, totally a Magneto move.
From the first X-Men, and Dark Phoenix too.
I'm hoping that this big mystery cameo that the actors keep teasing is gonna be Ian McKellen.
I'm starting to think it's Magneto. I'm starting to change my mind.
As Wanda is his true father. And if so, that apple ain't falling far from the tree. Wanda turns the border wall a threatening red. And we got to commercial. This time for Lagos brand paper towels for when you make a mess you didn't mean to. Just like the other commercials we've seen, this is the latest example to echo Wanda's past trauma when she accidentally threw Crossbone's suicide bomb explosion into a building, killing a lot of innocent people. That was the final straw event that led to the Sokovia Accords and the Civil War conflict. But listen closely as this commercial ends.
For when you make a mess, you didn't mean to.
Yeah, despite the paper towels, this blood-red mess continues to slowly drip. The bloody mess Wanda made, haunting her with
She
guilt.
didn't mean to
Sparky
do it.
Runs off, goes missing, and the mailman says,
"Your mom won't let him get far, ma'am."
Yeah, just like Dr. Nielsen, the mailman is hinting that it is hard to get too far away from this queen bee. And they find him, and it's very sad.
Don't know how many leaves he ate. I didn't find him until it was too late.
Yeah, she f***ing killed that dog, and they just caught her trying to bury him. So, looping back to that Tom King Vision run, trigger warning for animal abuse here. Virginia beats Sparky the dog to death. And then, among the dog's remains, Virginia sees that the dog had eaten a plant called the Wundagore Everblood, and she eats another petal of that, and she's able to see the future as she cries. That plant grows in the yard of Agatha Harkness. So yeah, I think Sparky either dug up or saw something that he should not have at Agnes's property. Maybe he saw Ralph. And
you know, there is something to that, because it did seem kind of odd to me that you would bring this dog in and just have this big moment. But I love how this show works all that in, because to me, I'm like, oh, they're using this dog death as a way to serve with the subject at hand.
It's a device.
It's a device that they're using for when Wanda is talking with her kids about death and bringing them back, and then Vision enters to enhance that subject. I didn't even really read much into the idea of like, oh, it was Agatha who actually killed the dog. dog because of this.
Yeah.
And then you look at those tie-ins with the comics, like how Eric's pointing out, like, well, now that seems even more likely. And perhaps with Wiccan maybe really being able to read the mind of the dog, she probably had to kill the dog for some specific purpose, right?
And like the Wicked Witch of the West, Miss Gulch, she put a hit on Wanda's Toto. Got her little dog, too. Because notice how Agnes reacts when Tommy asks Wanda to resurrect Sparky.
You can do that?
Yeah, Agnes might feel threatened that Wanda might resurrect as witness, or that Billy could use his telepathic speak command to learn what Agnes was trying to hide from them. Or Agnes knows full well that Wanda can resurrect the dead. Like, these two witches already did it with Vision, and she's just doing a very good job playing dumb. Wanda pretty hypocritically tells her kids that she can't reverse death, despite doing it for Vision, forbidding them to age past 10, which is interesting.
Where do we land on the Vision thing?
Exactly. Where they lost their innocence and their parents.
We won't know till the end.
Vision has to bury Sparky outside, and he washes his hands. This is in the same sink that he and we all first saw Sparky get in a bath to be clean and pure enough to join this family. There's probably little doggy hair still in that drain. Wanda tries to use the credits to evade the argument here.
So
crazy
fun.
That moment reminded me a lot of Too Many Cooks.
Yeah.
And again, all these names are people who work for Marvel Studios. Jimmy Gad works in post-production. Jeremy Simpson, we talked about him before. He's a storyboard artist. Leanne Patrick, post-production. Brandy Hawkins, an extra casting assistant. Scott McFate, VFX team. Crawford Norman, production.
This takes up the most time on a new Rockstars video.
Sorry for mispronouncing
These
that.
are all going to
Music
come back
editor.
next time.
Lacey Hudson works in props. Anedra Edwards, VFX. Miriam Yakub works in production. Patrick Heskew works in VFX. And Courtney Young is Marvel dialect coach. And you can thank her for Wanda Sokovian accent coming back.
You don't bother me. I won't bother you.
And then after their fight, they are greeted by Wanda's long-lost brother, Pietro.
Here we
played
go.
not by Aaron Taylor Johnson from Age of Ultron, but by Evan Peters.
You didn't see that coming?
The Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men movies.
Long-lost bro get to squeeze his stinking sister to death or what?
Yeah, Peters is really enjoying this. He's playing up the cool uncle, like Uncle Jesse from Full House.
Yeah.
Mercy. Darcy's recasting comment is a nod to the way sitcoms and movies will just do this. They'll recast actors without much explanation. Aunt Viv, Rhodey, Bruce Banner. Now,
And also to confuse the shit out of the audience.
Wandavision months ago, many of our assumptions were that it would be some alt-universe Quicksilver and that we were looking at a multiverse crossover now that Disney owns the rights to the X-Men. This Westview anomaly may be pulling cultural references from other pop culture as a way of tying in other dimensions of the multiverse.
Yes.
And that one of those could just be the Fox X-Men franchise. And if that's the logic, that's going to open the door to a lot of other cameos from that universe. Think about it. Ian McKellen, Magneto, Patrick Stewart, Professor X, anyone who's in those movies. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. But this could be something else. We could be looking at the mystery force inside Westview. Jimmy Woo's missing witness with brainwashing capabilities. Agnes's husband, Ralph. Whoever first trapped Wanda in this. That entity could be using a Quicksilver disguise to try to keep Wanda happy when Vision is no longer able to do so.
I'm not a fan of that idea. I'm not. There's something about that I'm not a fan of.
This sitcom decade is in the 80s, and Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver wasn't born until 1989, they just told us. So they needed to pluck a Quicksilver from the multiverse who was active during the 80s. And if you think about it, like the episodes of WandaVision,
that's what I have right here on this notepad.
Decade by decade. First Class was in the 1960s, Days of Future Past was in the 1970s, X-Men Apocalypse was in the 1980s, Dark Phoenix was in the 1990s. And since Evan Peters' Quicksilver was moonwalking in the 80s in X-Men Apocalypse, he now does kind of fit in this timeline, at least within the anomaly. Now,
let's not forget, he's also in Dark Phoenix for 5 minutes.
Pietro's return could be something as simple as a sweet gesture from the boys, trying to cheer up mommy with a long-lost brother that she said that she missed. But I don't trust this guy. He talks about squeezing his sister to death. He calls Vision a popsicle, which feels like a slur the way he says it. But guys, the creepiest detail is the mirror behind Wanda.
What?
The second Pietro comes in through the door. It's really hard to see, but this mirror looks distorted, warped. It almost looks like Pietro's hand is red. And I might be crazy, but there's some weird blur in this. Almost as if there's some thin gray arm reaching out toward Pietro, beckoning him into this house. What is this reflecting? There's nothing there.
What is that?
Whatever Pietro's origin, folks, there's enough in this to see him as a threat to Wanda. Some kind of trick to give her the one more thing she could possibly want.
Hold on, I gotta look back at that. It's true. What the hell is that? Well, I mean, like, I'm trying to think, like, even
what else in the series
Even in like a production design standpoint or to shoot the scene. Okay, let's move Eric Voss from the shot. It would just be Wanda and Evan Peters. Who would that be?
I don't know.
Or unless it's not like a real mirror and they were trying to create that mirror effect, because sometimes you got to do that in production designs where it's like, oh, we got to get like doubles to be in here because we got a mirror in the background, so we got to make it look like a mirror. And they had to hold something in place. But
it's just a person. Griff's hand.
I need to get this guy in place.
It's like, we can't have any light bleeding through here, so I'm just gonna hold this up and I'm out of frame, right?
From the camera angle point, there's nothing crossing in front or behind Evan Peters and Elizabeth Olsen, so it can't just be some production malfunction. I don't know. I mean, like, when you draw in the skeleton demonic hand, it looks like that. Yeah, but at first glance, it just kind of looks like something very odd that is positioning, like putting Quicksilver there.
Yeah, like beckoning him. Well, and there's also the red hand, which people have been batting around, lower in the frame.
Yeah.
And I honestly, especially after seeing Eric break down the, light bleed turning up the red on all the white and stuff like that, I almost feel like it could maybe just be a byproduct of that.
Some kind of trick to give her the
I
one
got
more
some
thing
thoughts
she
on
could
that.
possibly want. But like everything else in Westview, it ain't gonna last. Yes, I am wearing our latest Obsession shirt, An Unusual Couple. Limited supply, still available at our merch store, newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me on Instagram at EAVoss, follow New Rockstars, subscribe to New Rockstars on YouTube for breakdowns of all your WandaVision confusion.
My
Thank
shirt
you for
has
watching.
shipped.
Bye.
Thank you, Eric Voss. That was brilliant. All right, guys, look, I got a whole bunch of theories about how I think Quicksilver, what role he'll play, and or how he's back. Kind of want to narrow it down to just a couple of them before talking about it in a video. But I will say that this whole idea of him actually being like Mephisto in disguise, I'm not a fan of that. And the reason why is because we're all excited about the door this opens up. They're talking about Multiverse of Madness, getting the mutants in here. What does this mean for that future? Then you just find out that, oh, it's just some other guy.
Just a disguise.
Yeah, it's just a disguise. It's a bigger baddie. Yeah. I feel like that'd be a letdown. Because think about all the excitement this has generated. Think of what happened with the whole Mandarin thing. You got Trevor Slattery instead, and how big of an upset that was. And I think that would kind of be a similar thing after the feelings that this has risen for the fan community. That's the main reason why I would not want that to be the case. We did put out a whole video where I really fought for why I think it would be Professor X, who might be that big level cameo that shows up here. The fact that it is Quicksilver, it kind of goes in with some of my theories too, that I feel like, well, Magneto seems likely now as well. It's all kind of a big mumbo jumbo. But to actually work a tad bit more off of the point that he was making about how this version of Quicksilver will not be this positive case for Wanda, I firmly believe that. This version of Quicksilver, the Evan Peters one, who won't be this super understanding guy. I think he's gonna be someone who probably provokes. It's not Pietro resurrected. It is a different Pietro. It's a different Quicksilver. It's the one from the Fox universe. I think that even though she got a Pietro back, she's not going to want him to stick around.
Yeah, I could definitely see some kind of conflict arising from that. And I feel like it makes it ultimately, at least at the outset, I'm sure they can make anything interesting, but it seems more interesting here to have it be like a different iteration of her actual brother, because to me that equates to bigger, heavier character conflict for her. Not, one-to-one, but back from the dead in her life, who she arguably might want to keep that way. And I feel like that, especially in an episode that dives so much into we can't resurrect the dead and stuff, and we have to deal with certain painful things, it seems like this is almost like a painful thing disguised as a gift, and I feel like that in and of itself is a great bit of drama for just his circumstances
100%. All right, guys. Well, New Rockstars, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Another wonderful breakdown as well. Hit that like button, subscribe, keep a lookout for more WandaVision videos that we end up covering. Last but not least, want to shout out my man, Lance Dorr. You've been a great supporter of our channel for quite some time, but I need to tell you something, man. She's forcing you to get married. She's manipulating your mind.
Lance, wake up.
You gotta wake up, dude. This is not the life you want. I just said who's doing. Pay attention to the improv.
It's a reference to the show, but I get you. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I just said she's the one doing it. You can't just go who's doing it to try to reference the show. You're messing up the improv. You got to listen and react to it. Yes, and you don't just change the scene. Lance, I'm sorry. I had a whole bit there, and then John just messed it up. And
Lance,
he distracted me with it. You taught improv. How the hell? Thank you for being part of the Patreon, Lance. You've been a wonderful guy. I love you. I hope you finally get your marriage fulfilled this year. I hope the kid's okay too, and I hope 2021's better than last year. All right, bye.